All right, let's talk about one of the biggest trends in wellness right now, light therapy. We're going to cut through all the hype to see if this stuff is the real deal for our health. So let's get into it.
Yeah, you've definitely seen them. Those kind of futuristic-looking red light masks all over social media, right? They promise everything from perfect skin to super fast muscle recovery. But get this. Some of the most fascinating research is now focused on something way more delicate and honestly more vital, our eyes. So the big question is, can shining a light into your eyes really be good for them?
To answer that, we've got to push past all the marketing and look at the actual science. And it all starts super, super small. I'm talking about the cellular level. So while you and I might call it red light therapy, the fancy scientific name is photobiomodulation. I know, it's a total mouthful, but it actually describes what's happening perfectly. Photo, that's light. Bio, that's life. And modulation just means to adjust. So literally, it's all about using light to adjust our biology.
Okay, so how on earth does it work? Well, it's actually surprisingly elegant. See, every single cell in your body is packed with these tiny power plants called mitochondria. Their job is to create the energy, called ATP, that fuels, well, everything you do. Photobiomodulation acts like a turbocharger for these little power plants. Let's break it down. First, specific kinds of light, we're talking red and near-infrared, are able to actually penetrate deep into our body's tissues. Then, the mitochondria inside our cells just soak up this light energy. This jolt of light kicks them into high gear, and they start pumping out way more ATP. And when a cell has more energy, it can just do its job better. You know, healing, regenerating, all that good stuff.
And look, we're not just talking about a little boost here. Research shows this process can ramp up a cell's energy production by up to 200%. I mean, that is a remarkable increase in cellular horsepower. So what does all this new energy mean for our health?
Okay, so a supercharged cell is awesome, we get that. But why is this so exciting for our eyes? Well, it turns out the eye is one of the most energy-demanding parts of our entire body.
Your retina is just jam-packed with those mitochondria to handle the constant, non-stop work of processing light. This makes it a perfect candidate for this therapy. And so the most significant research has focused on dry age-related macular degeneration, or AMD, a condition where cells in the retina start to get worn out and begin to fail.
And the results are pretty amazing. In clinical trials for an FDA-approved device, about half of the people with dry AMD gained at least one line of vision on an eye chart. Then you have a smaller but still significant group, about 5%, who gained 3 or more lines. Now, you have to understand, for a degenerative disease where vision is typically only lost, this is groundbreaking. And it's not just about reading more letters on a chart. The therapy seems to be getting to the root of the problem. Studies show it can reduce the volume of drusen. You can think of these as little yellow deposits of cellular waste that build up and damage the retina. By energizing the cells, it's like it helps them take out the trash more effectively. Now, this all sounds incredible, but hold on. It's not as simple as just shining any old red light on your face. The dose is absolutely critical. This is where the Goldilocks principle comes in. Too little light, and nothing happens. But surprisingly, too much light can also have no effect, or could even become harmful. Scientists call this the biphasic dose response. It just means there's a very specific, just right therapeutic window.
So, what is that sweet spot? Well, according to ophthalmologist and researcher Dr. Robert Dotson, the target for eye treatments is typically between 2 to 4 joules of energy. Getting this dose exactly right is what separates a real therapeutic device from just an expensive gadget.
The color, or the wavelength, also matters immensely. Blue light, for instance, stays right at the surface, which is why it's good for antibacterial stuff like acne. Yellow light goes a little deeper, helps boost collagen, but it's the red and near-infrared, or NIR light, that can penetrate deep enough to actually reach the retina and give that energy-boosting kick to the mitochondria. And finally, this is a huge one for safety. The source of the light is crucial. Medical devices for the eye use LEDs, which give off a dispersed, spread-out light that's much safer. Lasers, on the other hand, are a whole different animal. They produce a coherent, focused beam. That concentration of energy carries a serious risk of thermal damage. I mean, it can literally burn the retina. So let me be crystal clear. Never, ever use a laser device near your eyes for this kind of therapy. So with all these specifics and pretty serious warnings, where does that leave us? Is this just another wellness fad, or is it a legitimate part of the future of medicine?
Okay, let's put it all together. First, the core science here is solid, and it's really promising. But, and this is a big but, the effectiveness and safety hinge entirely on getting the dosage and the wavelength exactly right. That's a huge issue in the consumer market, where a lot of these devices are unregulated. Now, medical-grade, FDA-approved devices do exist for conditions like AMD, but they require a doctor's supervision. And that brings us to the most important takeaway of all. This is not a do-it-yourself therapy. Always, always talk to your doctor.
You know, this quote from Dr. Dotson just perfectly captures the potential here. This isn't about introducing a foreign chemical to force a change. It's about using a specific key, a key made of light, to unlock and support the body's own incredible pre-programmed ability to maintain and heal itself.
And that leaves us with a fascinating final thought. For centuries, medicine has largely been about chemistry, finding the right molecule to fix a problem. But what if the next great frontier is in physics? A future where treatments aren't delivered in a pill, but with a precise, targeted, and energizing beam of light.